Hello everyone, this is Feroxs with TGN, bringing you my rendition on how to play a Blood Death Knight. This is a brand new character which I dinged to 85 approximately 2 days ago, but before you panic and say, I don't want no tips from a noob, do not fret, as I've been an active tank on every class, excluding DKs of course, for 4 or so years. Hopefully I'll be able to get some raid tanking bids out there in the near future. I love playing the underdog class in a game. Being discriminated in a game is funny, because when you show people up, they feel really stupid. For instance, I played a Retribution Paladin in TBC when they were really the biggest laughingstock. Blood Death Knights are definitely the underdog at the moment, with so many complaints from RNG deaths in Firelands. Anyway, moving on. This guide will be separated into 4 main topics: talent tree spec, stats, add-ons, macros, and rotation, which of course I mean priority system as of Cataclysm. Talents. The talent spec I'm using at the moment is what I think is the cookie cutter spec for general tanking. It has everything you need plus Lichborn, which I'll explain later. If you guys would like me to link the spec in the comments, I will do so, but for now I'll move on to the glyphs. For the prime glyphs I use Glyph of Deathstrike. A lot of people think this increases healing done, or gives a bigger blood shield. It simply does more damage, which equals more threat. Glyph of Heartstrike, 30% more damage, which helps with AoE threat. Glyph of Rune Strike, which is 10% more crit. Everything else is personal choice, but for major glyphs I use Dancing Rune Weapon, which is a nice threat boost. Glyph of Bone Shield, which is situational at best, 15% movement speed when Bone Shield is up. Glyph of Anti-Magic Shell, which is just an extra 2 seconds on the buff. And for minors I use Horn of Winter for an extra 1 minute on the buff, Resilient Grip, just in case you try and death grip something that's immune, you still get to use it again, and Blood Tap, which eliminates the damage it causes. Stats. There are 2 ways to gem Blood Death Knights at the moment. The first is Mastery Stacking, which increases the blood shield buff you get from Deathstrike, but will mean you get hit a lot more. Or you can go full avoidance, which means you rely less on Deathstrike and more on dodging or parrying the attacks. There really isn't a wrong way to do it, but generally speaking, avoidance stacking would be good for a low gear tank, and mastery stacking is good for a higher end gear tank. Although, many people are going down the avoidance road in Firelands, because they are getting wipes from missing a Deathstrike or 2 in a row, and just getting ruffle-pwned. This may be the case, but I always just look to the fact that the only Blood Death Knight to kill Ragnaros in heroic mode was a mastery stacker, which is from Inner Sanctum. So really, it could just come down to people not really expecting a Death Knight's health to plummet so rapidly compared to other tanks, or maybe he just got lucky. Add-ons and macros. Now then, my favourite part. Macros and add-ons make our lives so much easier in this game. When I'm searching for add-ons or looking up or designing new macros, I want to be able to look at less information and press less buttons, but still be at full control of my character and its surroundings. The first add-on I'm going to show you is Magic Runes. This is really personal preference, but I like the way it displays the information. Also, it shows disease timers when you are targeting a mob that has them applied. The second, which is the most important, is Blood Shield Tracker. This add-on will give you 2 small bars. The top one shows how big your shield is, and the bottom one shows estimated next Deathstrike heal, which is extremely useful. The macros I use are mainly defensive. First is my Lichborn macro. It will cast Lichborn and Death Coil on 1 press, but it is spammable as long as you have runic power, until Lichborn fades. I like to think of it as my Death Knight's version of Lay on Hands. Next, another healing macro is my Ghoul Sacrifice. It summons a ghoul on its first press, and will sacrifice it using Death Pact, granting me 25% of my max health. For my non-defensive macros, because I don't like having two buttons of interrupts, I have Strangulate and Mind Freeze on one macro. Strangulate is prioritized, and once it's on cooldown, Mind Freeze is available. And lastly, My Disease macro for when Outbreak is on cooldown, just to save space, and will reset its rotation every time you change target. Ability Priority, the most important part of any guide. What buttons to smash? The key to being a successful blood tank is knowing how to use Death Strike to its fullest. You have to make sure you're not wasting it on overhealing, and also not wasting the shield buff. It's widely accepted that generally you should wait at least 5 to 7 seconds before using it again, although use your brain. If you know you're about to take a lot of damage in a few seconds, it's okay to wait. Remember, Blood Shield is our version of block rate. For single target tanking, apply diseases via Outbreak, Heart Strike twice to use blood runes, because we don't want to waste using Death Strike until we've been hit, and we won't have the runic power for anything else. Keep reapplying diseases before they fall off. If Outbreak is on cooldown, this is when to manually reapply. Death Strike as much as possible throughout the fight, making sure to use up your blood runes with Heart Strike, or use Blood Tap to turn one rune into a death rune. Prioritize using Death Strike if you are taking high damage, Heart Strike if you have adds, and Rune Strike for threat. And if you need runic power or you're about to lose the buff, reapply Horn of Winter and use Bone Armor whenever it's safe to do so. And for AoE, put Death and Decay down straight away. Apply diseases and pestilence. If there are a lot of adds, use Blood Boil with your blood runes, but personally, I just use Heart Strike. Apart from that, everything else is the same as single target. Make sure you keep tabbing your targets to first check if you have aggro on them, and also to evenly spread out your abilities to all mobs. A lot of new tanks fail to do this. And that is it, guys. A big thank you for TGN for giving me this opportunity, and I hope you guys have enjoyed my guide. Please leave any feedback in the comment box below, and if you found this video helpful, please let me know.